Okay, so I've been pretty quiet in the grand scheme of things when it comes to takeover situations. It's such a big situation at this club, so it's something that I probably should have spoken about more of. But it's something that's so divisive in this in our fan base that I thought I'd just refrain a little bit, give my opinion here and there. But it's an ever changing situation. Something that I could say that I favour this one side could be completely different in a week's time. So I've kind of refrained from it until I've got all the information and everything that I want to know about. Um, and as I said, it's such a divisive topic that it's difficult to get any proper reasonable conversation about. If ever you say you're in favour of Qatar, people come out and talk about human rights situation. They talk about PSG, everything that's gone wrong there. If you come out and say that you're in favour of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, then people will come out moaning at you saying, you love the Glazers, or he doesn't have a Glazer puppet. It's very difficult to have a good conversation about it because it's obvious that this is such a big topic for this club because we've not had this situation for a long, long time. We've had these owners now for the last 18 years, and there's been no real sight of them ever going. This is the closest we've got to getting rid of either some of them or getting rid of them as a percentage. They've been selling different shares down the years to the point where they only own just under 70% now, but it's still 100% control when it comes to dictating what's going to happen with the club. But when it comes to this situation, because it is such a big topic, people don't usually have good conversations on it just because of the fact that everyone feels so strongly to their opinion and their side. It's difficult to have a good conversation and a good discussion. So I thought I'd just put out a few of my opinions here and there and a few things that have perhaps maybe gone overlooked. One of which is this whole thing of people saying that the Glazers are being greedy, which obviously we know they are. They have been ever since they came into the club. But this whole situation of them wanting a lot more than the market value, that is to be expected, to be honest. As much as I hate to say it, as much as we all hate to know it, they're well within their rights to do so. The market value in which it's being portrayed is because of we're being publicly traded on the stock exchange. So look at the value of each share and they multiply it by how many shares we have. Very simple. But what's on the market is the Class A shares. So you can buy as many of those as you want to. Anyone can buy them. But those shares mean absolutely nothing. I could buy 10% in the club right now in terms of Class A shares, but I get no control, no say over Manchester United because it's only the Class B shares that do anything, which is why it's such a big topic of conversation in terms of Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying in 25%. How much of that percentage is going to be Class A? How much is going to be Class B? We don't know. That is one big topic that we need more clarity on. That's the thing. When you look at the share value, yes, it seems off. It seems like Qatar putting in 6 or so billion. It seems as though they're grossly overpaying. But the actual market value for Manchester United is unknown, particularly because, like I said, the thing that's on the market is the Class A shares. And the Glazers bought in, they used their various loans, they used different companies, different shell companies, in order to buy us in the first place 18 years ago. And at that point, we were worth $500 million. They're now looking to sell us as a club for about 6 or 7, if they can. But even so, we're now worth 3.5 billion on the stock exchange. So they're going to look at that and say 18 years ago, we were worth $500 million. Just 18 years later, we're worth 7 times more than that. So it is completely conceivable to them that in 5, 10 years' time, we could be worth that 10, 12 billion they keep quoting. That is a completely reasonable thing. As much as we don't want to think about it, it is completely reasonable. We've seen news of the bigger Champions League stages. They've got more Champions League games. You're going to get more revenue from that. We've got news of the fact that the Club World Cup might be changing to allow more clubs into that. More revenue is going to come from that. We've got ever-growing TV rights. That's always going to continue to grow. It has been year on year on year. We've got more big companies wanting to buy in. We've got more big countries wanting to buy in. So there's always going to be more and more money. And we're also seeing news that it could potentially scrap 3 p.m. kickoffs. That's half of the matches that you play a season for some people that you might now get revenue on. as much as we hate to say it, the football market is always growing. It's always getting bigger. There's always more money. So I don't want to say it, but they're well within their rights to ask as much as they're asking for. And that is why Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come in and said, I will offer you 25% now, and I will keep buying you out. That's the question mark that we need answers. Because he's buying this 25% at this set price. It's per share more value than the Qatar are offering, or Sheikh Jassim, depending on which way you want to look at it. We've been told it's through the 9-2 Foundation. As a person himself, he isn't that wealthy. Well, he is compared to the average person, but he isn't wealthy enough to buy the club by himself. So he's going to have backing from likely his family. So there's going to be a lot of money there, and it's just really difficult to gauge how it's going to go. The way that we need to find out about what's happening is we need to know that further 44% it will be that they're going to buy. We also need to know if that 25%, is that 25% in the club? Is that is the 25% going to come out of just the Glazers? Is it going to be a mix? We don't know if he's buying 25% in the club, leaving the Glazers of about, I don't know, say 50% in the club. Or is he buying 25% of the Glazers, coming out of their share, which means they're now stuck with 44%, which means as an individual, he will own more percentage than anybody else. That's more things we need clarity on. But one other thing that we need to know of is the roadmap in order to how he's then going to take over 100%. Is he going to then strive for 100% or just a further 44% so that he does keep 31% elsewhere that people have bought into? Is he going to try and get 100% of the club, or is he going to try and get 69% so he stays majority holder and the Glazers will be fully gone? That remains to be seen. And one thing we need clarity on is if he does go to buy that 44% of the shares down the line, which he says he's going to, is there a clear situation where there's an independent adjudicator or a set value as to how much that's going to be? Because we don't want this situation every single time he wants to buy a percentage of our shares. We don't want it to be that he's at 25%, he wants to buy 5% this year, 5% that year, and every single year they're debating over how much that's going to be. There needs to be a roadmap of, look at how much the club is seen to be worth, we're going to offer you 10% more of that every single year to buy out 5%. We need a very evident, clear thing, because it's the Glazers. We know that they're going to try some underhanded nonsense to try and stay here, to try and leech as much money as they can. We need a clear roadmap as to how they're going to eventually go. When it comes to which side I favour, I think you can kind of hear by the way I'm talking at this point it is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, just because of the sense that the Qatar bid is obviously the favoured one because it's 100% takeover now. It's what we've been striving for, but it just doesn't seem feasible at this point. And as much as the sticking point is the fact that it's 100%, so that's the favourable one, and they're pledging all this extra money, they're doing all this extra stuff, which we haven't heard as much about from Sir Jim. We've heard he's going to buy in 25%, and then he's going to look to invest another 245 million as he comes into the club for infrastructure, which will then free up a bit of money for FFP because it's due to pledged income. He does bring in a bit of money, but when it comes to the Qatari bid, I was never quite fully sold on it. It screams of people with more money than sense. I really like what they were saying. They were saying they want to take Manchester United back to the top. They're going to get rid of all our debt. They're going to invest in all of this different things, which obviously that is favourable. But there has been no clear discussion. There's been no clear thing that they've said, which is how we're going to get there. We've seen that with Sir Jim. He's come in and said, I'm going to buy 25% in the club. I'm going to bring in Jean-Claude Blanc. I'm going to bring in Paul Mitchell. I'm going to bring in Brailsford. He's going to bring in all of these people that are so big in the industry. We've got Blanc, who's been at Juventus, PSG. Paul Mitchell, who's been at the likes of Southampton, rebuilding MK Dons, Tottenham, Monaco, Leipzig. He's been at all of these clubs. This is a big network of clubs. Whereas with Qatar, we heard that they were going to pledge this amount of money and that they wanted to bring in the likes of Mbappe, Coman, and there's one more, it might have been Camavinga. They said all these players that they want to buy. That's not what we need to hear right now. We don't want to hear we're going to spend this amount of money, we're going to invest this amount of money. As much as we want to hear that, that isn't what gets you to that next level as a club. You don't become sustainable. You don't become a club that challenges and builds a proper project just from having more money. You do it by having people that know how to spend it, know how to build a club. Although that could have been part of the top conversation behind the scenes, because of course there's NDAs, we'll never quite know the full scope of it all. We never really found out from Qatar what they were going to do, who they're going to employ. It was never really evident as to how they were going to improve our structure. It could have just been that they came in with all this money and they kept it how it is and just gave us more money to spend every year. That isn't going to get you anywhere, although you would assume that they're going to come in, they're going to have some sort of business sense, and they're going to bring the right people in. But we don't know about that. So therefore, I cannot comment on if that's favourable or not. Right now, all we know is that it looks like Mitchell's going to be coming in if Sergio Ratcliffe comes in. We're going to have Monaco as like not Monaco. We're going to have Nice as like a sibling club, effectively. We're going to be able to send players there. They're going to send players to us. We'll have a good roadmap to linking the two clubs together. We're going to have a proper footballing structure. Although, like I've said previously, the Qatar bid was favourable because of 100%. Sergio wanted 100% as well. He just has the business sense to go, I'm going to buy 25% now, and then I'm going to get the rest down the line. It's frustrating because it means that they're going to stay longer. But we do need a clear vision as to how it is they're going to leave. I'm positive in the sense that I think they're going to be gone soon, hopefully. If Sir Jim comes in and says, we've got this plan, 5 years down the line, they'll be gone. We've lived with them for 18 years, we can live another 5. It's not favourable, but it's better than it was a year ago. There was no evidence that we were going to ever get rid of them. Now that's one step closer. But if he comes in and says, yeah, I've bought this 25%, I might buy the rest at some point, then it's just a big red flag. But as I said, he's an incredible businessman. He's incredibly rich for a reason. He's got all these different sporting entities. He's with F1 Mercedes. He's got Nice. He's got Great British Cycling Club. You're not going to do that if you haven't got incredible business sense. And he knows that we don't want the Glazers here. He's spoken against them before. He said that they're not fit for purpose. He's questioned loads of their decisions. He knows we don't want them here. He's not going to do some sort of business or some sort of deal that means that they stay for much longer. He's a 71-year-old man. He said that this is going to be his legacy. He doesn't want to come here and leech money from the club. He wants to come here and be the man that takes his boyhood club, because it is his boyhood club. He did go in for Chelsea, that is true, because when he was in London, he did like Chelsea because they were local. Although it's a grey area. You're rich, man. You can travel to Manchester every now and then. But if it was just to entertain local clients, then maybe it's completely understandable. But he was a boyhood Manchester United fan. He grew up near Manchester. He was reportedly at the 99 final. And he wants to be that man that takes us from where we are now back to where we should be. And he knows that he can't do that with one hand tied behind his back working with the Glazers. So he's going to have some sort of roadmap, some sort of idea that will take him to 100%. You'd really hope so. But I just feel that, like I said, there's a lot of things that need to be said. The share value, who I favoured, and just a few different additives on there as well. Like I said, Qatar was always my favourite bid at first, just because of the full takeover. But I never really properly got behind it, just because of the fact that there was so many unknowns, and what we did know I wasn't really happy with. Like I said, we don't need people that are going to come in and they're going to say, let's buy this new shiny thing. We don't need that. We make enough money as a club that we can sustain ourselves. We just need that little bit of income now, get rid of our debt, sort out Old Trafford, and then we can sustain ourselves. we don't need someone that's going to splash 200-300 million per summer. We need someone that knows how to spend it, because we've been doing that already. We've been spending too much money on players that aren't good enough. We don't need someone that's going to give us more money to buy more players that aren't good enough. We need somebody that knows how to spend the money to buy players that are good enough. I'd much prefer us to spend 50 million on players that are going to improve our starting 11 than 150 million on players that are just going to sit on the bench every week. We need people that know what they're doing, and from what we've been told and from what we know, that seems to be the Ratcliffe side. Who better to take down Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, PIF, all these people, than the person that took down Qatar? It's as simple as that, really.